Today we are going to figure out why Janja Garnbret is one of the best competition climbers of all time and how you can use what we learned to put into your own climbing to improve. If you are new here, I'm not surprised. This is my very first YouTube video. My name is Dylan. I'm a professional climbing coach of the last 5 years and I own the Stone Project. If you're unfamiliar with who Janja Garnbret is, she is a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. She has won 45 World Cups, and she won every single World Cup in 2019. Nobody's ever done that. It's crazy.
People want to know why you are winning.
I don't know.
Right? Like they want an answer, right?
Already want everybody wants a recipe for success, but
Yeah, me too.
And in 2019, she tried the unthinkable, to win every bouldering World Cup in a season.
there are 6 bouldering World Cups a year, and I wondered if it's possible to win them all.
One thing that we can see here about what she's saying, seeing if it's possible to win them all, she doesn't just want to win. She wants to dominate. She wants to beat everyone. She wants to win everything. And so for her, what that is a clear and defined goal, and that's what you can do for yourself as well. And you know, none of us are going to be pro climbers. I mean, some of you may be, but overall, this is just her setting a goal for herself and planning and figuring out exactly what she needs to do. And so, you know, for you, what I would suggest you do is figure out exactly what you want to do with your climbing and make it clear, make it measurable, and figure out some way to figure out what exactly you want to do with it. And so if we are having open-ended goals and kind of just figuring out what we want to do along the way, that's not really a recipe for success. But she wanted to do and win every single World Cup, and she ended up doing that, right? And so she set out that goal for herself, and that's what you need to do for yourself. So whenever you have something you want to do, whether it be, you know, climb a new grade, get a new pull-up PR or anything like that, set out that goal, figure out the timeline of when you want to do that goal, and then figure out the things that are holding you back from actually achieving those goals. Write them down, put them in a document, figure out what you need to do for it.
to be always the best in everything. I wanted to be the best in school. I wanted to have the best grades.
Janja že kot majhna punčka, redoljubna je pa Janja bila.
Now, being a perfectionist is definitely a helpful thing, especially when you want to try to be the best. There was a study done on a lot of the world leaders and like presidents and things of that nature, essentially saying that they have this kind of, not really psychotic nature, but essentially like a feeling that they need to be the best and they need to be better than everyone else. And so it's like this very big ego that they have for themselves. And I'm not saying Janja has that, but she definitely has this, you know, very dominating aspect to herself. And so when you want to excel and be better than everyone else, in her case, you know, if you put in the work and you do everything you can to do that, the higher chance you will have of having or being able to do that. Now, for you, it's going to be really hard to win World Cups or anything like that. But essentially, you know, when we want to set out goals for ourselves, like what I was saying earlier, we can really just try to be better than ourselves. And so it's not comparing yourselves to other people. It's not, you know, looking back on where you were and saying, oh, I want to be there and things like that. It's really just, you know, being better than you were yesterday or being better than you were last week and trying to just continuously improve upon yourself without ego or judgment, because everyone goes through plateaus of going up and down. But this can be your opportunity to say, you know, today I'm going to try a little bit harder. Today I'm going to be a little bit more focused. And just like those tiny, tiny little details of building up, and they stack up over time until you have a giant pyramid, essentially, of all of the things that you've done to get you there. Because it's never just, you know, doing the one thing that's going to get you all the way to the top. It's every single thing that you're doing to get to where you want to be on your own personal level.
On the wall for the first time, feeling like weightless. My moves were smooth already back then, and I thought
a lot of very successful climbers start at a very young age. And not only that, you know, Janja obviously did not have climbing parents, or at least as far as I know, but a lot of these people started with climbing parents or somebody that got them into climbing and taught them how to climb. And so they had this early on advantage of being able to get used to the sport and get very comfortable with it as they get older. And so it's easier for them to excel and do these things. If you're watching this, you probably did not start when you were very young. But if you did start when you were very young, you can still apply this to yourself too. It's, you know, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. Well, you didn't start climbing 20 years ago. And the second best time to plant a tree is now. So where you are now is what you can improve from. A lot of people will say, I wish I would have started climbing when I was younger. I wish I would have done this when I was younger. And it's like, yeah, I wish I would have invested in Bitcoin when it started going big. But, we can't do that. If you sit on those types of thoughts, then you're just going to feel depressed and never feel like you're enough for what you're trying to do. And so getting the idea in your head that you are here now it's time to do the work and the things that you want to do, and just progressing towards that and look towards the future and not dwell on the past of, oh, I wish I would have started 20 years ago. Like, what do you want to do? Get back in the time machine and start climbing again? You can't, So you just have to really commit to where you are now.
I was a talent, of course, but talent is not enough. You need to be a hard worker. I go on knife.
Can you imagine having a saying on the knife? If you have a really cool saying from your country, drop it down in the comments and maybe you have something even better. So a big thing that, we notice, especially when somebody who is a professional climber or makes anything a profession that they have become committed to, is that they have the time to make it happen. And so that means it's priority and it's really what they're focusing on. But you can have multiple priorities. It just depends on how you level them and how you stack them. And then she even says it here, talent isn't good enough. But when talent means hard work, then nobody can beat you. And she is talented and she works very, very hard. And so for you, prioritizing what you need to do is going to be very important. And so a lot of you, most of my demographics are this 25 to 35 age. And that means y'all are of working age. And so you don't have as much time to do all these things. If you're anything like me, I have 2 to 2.5 hours each session. And I try to really compact everything I need to do. And so what that means is during my sessions, I am being super efficient with my time. I'm not, going in there and, sitting down and talking or taking my time or being super lazy or being on my phone. I'm not saying, I didn't mean to use the word lazy, but it's not lazy, but these are my priorities and where I want to try to make them, right? I have goals for my climbing and what I want to do with myself. And so that's my thing. I just try to be as dedicated to the time that I have as possible. And so I'll condense all of that together. I'll set schedules and I'll set timing for when I need to be able to do things. And another important thing about this is learning how to say no to things, learning how to say no to one extra climb, learning how to say, no, I don't want to go try that. I have to work on this crimpy V7 or whatever. And so really dedicating, setting that schedule out and prioritizing your time in the gym if you have goals for yourself and how you want to get there. And another thing to think about this too is quality over quantity. Granted, she's probably climbing 4 hours a day, 5, 6, 7 days a week. I don't know exactly, but in that time, that quality of what she's doing is very important. Unless you're doing volume and stuff like that, and quality still matters. But really focusing on how you're doing the movements, how you're doing this climb is so important. And so being able to really focus on what's in front of you and give that everything you have is very, very important. And so, doing 5 tries on one climb, very good, is much better than doing 10 tries on one climb very poorly. And so learning how to really ask yourself these questions when you get off the wall, what did I do that was wrong? What can I do to fix this right now? And not just falling off, getting frustrated or getting upset and then getting right back on. It's really just taking that time to take a deep breath and just sit back and think, what do I need to do to fix this?
Why is Janja the best?
Because she's the best.
I think that's a very interesting point by our coach. Why is Janja the best? We don't know. And there's not really any secret to it. And so there's no real secret sauce, right? There's not anything that is gonna make somebody born and immediately just we have figured out what makes the perfect athlete. And it's an amalgamation of many different things, lifestyle, what they're dedicated to, mental game, strengths, weaknesses, all of these different things, right? And then she has the talent, she puts in the hard work, she has the priorities straight, she has everything she needs to be a winning success. But it's different for her because she is the best competition climber, better than all the men, better than all the women. And I really just think it's comes down to her natural talent, her tenacity, and her very, very hard work. Because those are the things that are putting all of these things together. And starting from this video, there's no really simple answer of like, why is somebody the best? You just can't you can't really answer that. Like Babe Ruth was the best hitter back when he was back in the 1900s, but he smoked and drank and did all these things, but he was the best. And so it's like, this is nothing like this. Like, she's working very hard and now she's the best. So it's like, what are these things that are like separating the top athletes from the lowest athletes?
Like, this place is the weirdest place ever. You have like the strongest people training here, and then you have kids running around. And there's a pole dancing station up there, and
This is really important, and I think this has to do a lot with her adaptation. It's true, you don't need fancy equipment to be able to be the best or perform or get better or anything like that. Like, you need to learn how to adapt, you need to learn how to train, and you learn how to put those things into when you're ready to perform, whether it be on your home gym, outside, on a competition, wherever. Like, learning and using what you have and being able to adapt that into the things that you want to do is going to be really important. And while the fancy equipment is like super necessary, like all of these measuring tools and like all of these like statistics and stats and like things like that, they're very, very helpful, and they can help you get a lot better. But it eventually comes down to you, right? It comes down to like what you can do, how you can apply what you've learned and put that into your goals. Another thing, climb on your spray wall. Most of you do not climb on your spray wall. Climb on your freaking spray wall, please. It's such a good training tool. It's like one of the best training tools that you can have. Like, you can do it for endurance, you can do strength, you can do power, you can do technique, you can do dynamic movement, static movement, and you can do all these things on a regular climbing wall too. But you have so many different options with the spray wall, and you can figure out how to do things even better. You can get tricky with it. You can make up problems. You can make up problems with your friends. You can do all of these different things. And I bet you most people are not on that freaking spray wall. So you get all of the space you want. And you're able to do all of these crazy things on a spray wall because that's what it's made for. It's made for imagination, figuring out what you can do, setting projects for yourself. Super, super useful. You have an outdoor project, set up a simulator, right? Like, these things are so good for your climbing, and y'all should utilize the spray wall even more if you can. It's also great for warming up.
and just because she loves training this much, she does more than anyone else. Bad day, sore skin, bad mood, whatever, she's gonna do it.
This is really, really cool, and I think this is kind of like the essence of like what training is and where you want to go with your stuff. And so you're always going to have a bad day. These bad days happen. It's just a normal part of life, whether it be like in climbing or just in your normal life. You're going to have these bad days. And so what it comes down to here is consistency is king. And kind of like what I told you earlier, that adapting to that consistency is really important, right? So you're going to have bad days. You're not going to have good skin. You're going to be sore. You're going to be tired. You're going to be whatever, right? Ultimately, listen to your body, but most of the times you can probably push through. This is, just the nature of things, especially as you start to grant new stimulation, and you start working harder, and you start training harder, like you'll be able to do these things. Now, consistency isn't necessarily just about discipline and going in every day and doing all these things. While it's one of the most important parts for your training, it's also about, again, that adaptability. So like if you go in and you can't finish as many climbs or as many reps, change the volume, change the intensity, drop some weights, drop some poundage, like whatever you need to do to adjust and figure out like if it's in that time frame. Like if you climb for usually 2 hours and you only have an hour and a half, shorten everything up. Do everything you need to that day, but shorten it up into a time frame that is applicable to you and that you can use to stay consistent. It's like, oh, I'm not going to go to the gym. I can't finish my full training program. Adjust the training program. You need to adapt. You need to adapt for what you're trying to do and stay consistent with the things that you're working on. Also, side note, don't be jumping around everywhere. Don't be like sitting here thinking, I need to work my pull-up strength because this really hard climb has a really hard pull-up move on it. Like, stick with what you have. Stick with what you're doing. Focus on that first. Get through that, and then move on to the pull-up thing, right? You don't want to keep adding in and like doing a million different things with your training, simplicity, while it can be boring sometimes, is a beautiful thing to help you improve.
I try to be fast, focused, dynamic, to move the energy from move to move. That's just my style.
That's her style, right? So what can we take away from this? Like, not all of y'all are going to be super dynamic. Not all of y'all are going to be super static. When it comes down to doing the climb in front of you that you are working on, a lot of people will think of these a million different things. It's like, oh, I need to train my fingers. Like, this is too hard. I need to train my flexibility. I need to train my power. All of these things, right? While yes, you should, what are you going to do right now that's going to make that happen? Nothing, right? So staying in the moment and staying focused on what is in front of you, sticking to your guns, sticking to what you are good at, and being, again, adaptive and learning how to put all of these things together in a way that is going to help you succeed, right? So not just thinking about all of the things that you need to do later on. It's like, what do you have in your toolkit available to you right now that you can essentially put together to make this happen, to stick this move, to send this climb, right? Because you're never going to be just like, have everything. You just have to use what you have and apply that.
People are already asking me when I will retire. And it's like, I'm 22, how can you ask me that? But still, I know the answer to that when I stop having fun.
And there's another key, right? She loves it. She works hard, she's talented, but she freaking loves it. That's another thing. You have to fall in love with the things that you're doing. She loves training, so she has an advantage on the people who love to win. She loves the work that it takes to get there. She loves winning. She loves all of these things that put together. So if somebody wants to win, and that's what they love doing, they love climbing, right? But they don't love training. They're not going to put as much effort into the things that they're doing. But she loves training. So, taking that for you, you have to fall in love with the process, right? Or you have to fall in love with the end goal. Or you have to fall in love with the things that are leading up to it and things like that. It's not just, when am I going to achieve this? It's, do I really enjoy doing this? And if your answer is yes, then keep doing it. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be pretty all the time. But I, necessarily don't enjoy training all of the time personally, but I enjoy the things that I get from it. I enjoy like being a better climber. And so that in turn actually makes me enjoy the work that I'm doing to build up to these things. So do I love training? Hell yeah, I love training. Do I love achieving my goals? Hell yeah, I love achieving my goals. But I have to do these things in order to, progress and see that progression, right? And so I think you should do that too. Like, you have to learn to love the process. And everyone says trust the process, but what is the process? The process is everything that you do leading up to where you want to go. If your goal is to send a climb, it's all of the beta, all of the working the moves, everything. That is the process. All the sessions you put in, that is the process. Enjoy the process. Love your process. Love yourself. That was a really bad wink. Oh my God, did you see that? I tried to wink. There you go. Jesus Christ. Thank you for joining me on this journey of my first YouTube video. If you want to learn more about climbing and you want to see more of me, follow my Instagram. It'll be linked in the bio down below. And if you're interested in any coaching, that will be linked as well. Have a nice day.